guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to go through the absolute whirlwind that was my meet this past weekend. It was the drug tested Texas Power Bar Open at Union Fitness in Pittsburgh, and it was my third full power sanctioned meet, and I competed this time in the 67.5 kilo group. If you've watched any of my other meet recaps, you know I typically compete in the 60 kilo, but I made the decision to move up a weight class just to see what a meet would be like without the stress of a weight cut. If you don't know, 60 kilo is 132 and 67.5 is 148. I typically maintain around 135, 136, so I would cut for the meet. But I gave myself permission back in April when I kind of decided I might want to make this move to maybe gain a few pounds. And I've been maintaining between 138 and 140. So I made this move knowing I would likely be less competitive being on the lower end of this weight class. But I feel like I've kind of played it safe at my last meets, knowing I could be competitive, knowing there were records I wanted to go after. So I wanted to go into this meet and just leave it all on the platform and kind of just go full send. So when we last left off, I had mentioned that I had taken my openers that day, but what I didn't tell you are that my openers for this meet were my third attempts from this same meet last year. So that was 260 for squat, 160 for bench, which I failed, and 325 for deadlifts. My squat opener, the day I did my practice, it moved as expected. It was a little bit slower than I would have liked, but I hit it. Bench moved fantastic. I'll put a side-by-side here of 150 from April versus 160 from just last week when I did my opener test. And the difference is night and day on my bench. And then deadlift was 325. I only worked up to 90% of my deadlift opener, and I did 3 singles there, which was 295. My taper week was pretty similar to how I normally train. I made a few slight modifications, but in the past I had found a taper template online and had followed that into both of my meets, and it worked fine. My training has changed pretty drastically since then. So I felt that following this taper didn't really make sense with how my training has been. So I used the percentage of your openers that the template used, but just applied it to my training frequency and kind of the format throughout the week. So I'll have some videos overlaying of the different lifts that I hit throughout the week, but everything went smoothly and I went into the meet feeling pretty good. So Friday was weigh-ins. My mom came with me. This was the first time she had really got to experience any of the meet environment. She's usually the one in charge of watching my kids. When my husband and I go to the meet, I weighed in at 138.6, so well under the weight class there. We did our equipment check and set all the rack heights and were in and out in about 20 minutes. And I was surprised at how just relaxed I felt compared to previous meets. I don't know if it's just being familiar with the venue, being that I had done a meet at this facility before, knowing some of the other competitors that were going to be there, as well as knowing the meet directors and other judges. But I just overall kind of kept forgetting that the meet was the next day, which is very unusual to how I have felt in the past. My sister actually called me later in the day and asked if I wanted to run out to a store with her, and then we ended up getting sushi. So I feel like that's not something I would have done in the past, being so worked up for the meet. The feelings of worry all came back the next day though, as I woke up and kind of had the thoughts that I've had in the past of like, why am I doing this? Is it worth it? Maybe I should just lift in the gym. And mostly this probably because I spent the entire night tossing and turning, trying to talk myself out of dropping all of my openers. Especially squats. I was very in my head about squats and just kept, in the little minutes of sleep I would get, would have visions of myself just either nailing my opener or being completely buried underneath it. So I kind of had to talk myself off a ledge. And again, once we got to the venue, I felt much more relaxed seeing all the familiar faces and just the excitement and the atmosphere that is meet day. So after we had the rules meeting, I was in flight A and we got to start warming up for squats. I actually went and picked the same squat rack that I had used last year. There was about 3 of us, maybe 4, just kind of cycling through our warm-ups. They were all about the same rack height. Once we got going, I was glad that I had not chickened out and kept my squat opener where it was. I did time everything out much better than I did my last meet and worked up to my last warm-up set of 250. Felt fantastic and I was ready to go hit the platform. Call me up. As I'm getting under the bar, you'll see it kind of takes me I spend a lot of time really trying to wedge in. I could tell as soon as I got under the bar that it was too high. The day before when we were setting the rack heights, it seemed fine. So it wasn't anything with that we had tried it the day before. But I spent a lot of time really trying to wedge under there. I like to kind of have more of a knee bend and kind of pop up. And my legs were pretty straight before I could even unrack. So I was worried that I wasn't even gonna be able to get the weight out of the rack. I did. Normally I look up at the judge. I was just so in my head about I need to get this rack height changed. She said squat down, come back up. Moved a little bit slower than I would have liked, again, just because of all the work I put in just to walk the bar out. You'll see in the video, I get my white lights. I don't even look at them. I'm just walking off, head to the table to make sure I can get my rack height dropped.
17.5 kilos going on the bar. Come on, Renee. Let's go. Tight, tight, tight. Seven. There you go. Let's look at the lights. White lights. Nice job. Nice job.
But I was very happy that I started the meet with 260, which is what I have ended both of my last meets. So my second attempt was 270. Rack height was much better. I felt much more confident walking it out. I love this video. Doug on the mic is so cute he's like, let's get this kiddo. I freaking buried it, further than I've ever buried 270. So I definitely feel like I wasted a lot more energy than I needed to. It came up a little bit slower again than I would have liked. But again, I really crushed that depth that I probably didn't need to.
270, come on, this is great, let's see it. 270. Come on, get this, kiddo, let's go. Drop your back, 10, 2 up. There you go. There you go, 3 white. Nice.
So due to that, I only bumped up 5 pounds to 275. It's 275.6 with the kilos. I haven't told you any of those along the way, and I ended up not getting it.
Come on, Renee. Let's get this. Come on. Chest up, chin up. Drive. Way to stay with the bar. Good effort. That's a lot of weight.
My husband's like, you shot your load on those first two, just using so much extra energy to get out of the rack on the first one and going insanely too deep on my second one. But I really didn't care. I walked out of squats with 10 pounds more added to my total. So we moved on to bench. I remembered from last year that the benches were really slippery, so I pulled out one of my tricks from when I used to go to our old gym and put some bands over the bench to make it a little less slippery. So I was setting in with some girls and everything felt fantastic, which was complete opposite from both of my last meets actually. Bench warm-ups felt awful. I worked up to 150 that felt like the bar, honestly. So I was pretty excited to hit the platform with 160. It was at 159 being my opener, being that I had failed this same weight at the previous meet. I did talk my husband into giving me a lift off. I do usually train by myself, but if he's around and I'm going for some kind of heavier weight, he'll come out and give me a lift off. So he knows what I like without me having to say anything. I kind of felt like I had a little security blanket with him being there. $160 felt like 135. So at that point, I kind of had my sights set on the state record in the submaster group for the 67.5 kilo, which is 181. My gym max is only 175, but 160 moved so great, I was already seeing way far ahead. So I thought if I go 170, 175, I can ask Chip for a fourth and try and chip that record. So I go for 170, and you can see what a difference 10 pound makes, and I obviously didn't get it. It was a fight, but I didn't get it. So I ended up going for it again with my third, and unfortunately didn't get it again either. I less got it that time.
Come on.
So looking back, I probably should have went 165, 170 and just ended it there. 160 had moved so good that I kind of just got a little greedy. But I wasn't mad at all because I walked out of bench with 5 more pounds added to my total. But the party was just getting started as we headed into deadlifts, and warm-ups felt better than anything. Squats and bench warm-ups both felt great. Deadlift warm-ups felt even better than I could have imagined. I ended up working up to 310 back in the warm-up room, and I walked out to my husband and was like, that felt like the bar. And I told him, I said, I feel like I can grind out something really good today. So I had in my head that I was gonna get my shot at 350. With the kilos, it's either 347 or 352. So I was gonna kind of play it by ear which version of 350 I took, hoping for that 352. So my opener was 325. It flew off the ground, and I don't know what happened at the top. I felt so just disoriented, and I swear I almost blacked out and felt myself losing my balance, that I missed the down command. I was going down basically as his hand comes down, and I got 2-to-1 red lighted.
Come on, get tall. Get tall. And the lights. Oh, 2-to-1. 2-to-1.
And I was like, who the heck missed the deadlift command? Like, I didn't miss bench commands, I didn't miss squat commands. If you've seen any of my training videos, when I finish a squat, I wait before I walk it in. When I finish a bench, I wait before I rack it. Hold my deadlift at the top. That way it's just kind of second nature and I don't even think about it. So I just walked off like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's how we're starting deadlifts. But it moved so well that I kind of abandoned my original plan. I was gonna jump to 340 next. I just played it safe, went to 335 just to get, it's 336, just to get on the board. And then I was gonna make a bigger jump and go for that 350. Wouldn't you know, I hitched 336. Again, flew off the ground, and you can see in my face, you can hear Doug on the mic, he goes, she knows, she knows. And I did. I could not believe that again, 2-to-1 red light.
Come on, Renee. Come on, I know you've been working hard. Let's go.
So I couldn't believe this was where we were going into the third deadlift. I decided to play it safe and just repeat 336 so that I could get on the board. I realized when we were going into deadlifts that I actually was in first place and likely could keep that through deadlifts. So at this point, I either pull my third and get first, or I miss it and am completely out of the meet. So I was pretty bummed that I didn't get to even attempt something close to 350. And I cannot tell you how nervous I was going out for that second round of 336. Thankfully, flew right up, got it. You can see my head kind of like circles around like, tell me what I did now. Got the 3 white lights and celebrated out, knowing that I thankfully didn't bomb out of the meet.
Come on, grab the floor. Come on, grab the floor. There you go. That's how you do it. Yeah.
And this was a 6-pound meet PR. that I ended deadlifts with. So I ended the meet with a 766 total, which was a 28-pound increase overall in my total, all while going 4 for 9. And if you've been adding up along the way, it was only a 22-pound increase from my last meet, but on my last meet I had a lower bench and a higher deadlift, so they actually canceled each other out from the previous meet. And from my first meet to my second meet was only a 1-pound increase in my total. I always joke out here that I like 1-pound PRs, but not so much when it comes to my total. So I was excited to have added so much from April through September. So while I did bring my biggest total and ended up winning a weight class that I had zero expectations of winning, I was pretty frustrated that I didn't even get to attempt any form of 350, whether it's 347 or 352. So when I walked off after deadlifts, I said to my husband, I'm like, I'm about to go back to that warm-up room and load up 350 just to see if I could pull it, because I really do feel like I had it that day. But he kind of talked me out of it and said, you don't want to hurt yourself. It'll be there. You'll get it. Get it in the gym. There's always the next meet. So I really can't complain at how the meet went. I keep calling it my best worst meet because I definitely did not see the day going 4 for 9, especially with how deadlifts went. But for now, I'm going to be taking this week kind of just as like a random training week. Probably won't do too much, and we'll get back to some kind of programming likely this weekend. I do have a couple of things in mind as to what my next meet will be, but I don't want to really say it until I know exactly what my plans are. So watch for some future updates on that. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stick around for more content from a garage gym, powerlifting mom, showing you that you don't have to be the strongest to be strong. Thanks. Bye.